Will the aldermen please take their seats? Get the meeting started on time. Thank you. Hey, Scott, how are you? Good, good.
How is this?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is October 6th, 2025. We welcome you to the October 6th, 2025 meeting of the Milford Board of Aldermen. Please join me as we salute our flag. Madam Secretary, will you please take the roll?
Alderman Beatty.
Present.
Alderman Bevan.
Here.
Alderman Casey.
Here.
Alderman Federico.
Here.
Alderman Fowler.
Here.
Alderman Healy.
Here.
Alderman Height.
Here.
Alderman Jenkins.
Here.
Alderman Marlowe.
Here.
Alderman Mulrennan.
Here.
Alderman Pacelli.
Here.
Alderman Smith.
Here.
Alderman Vitro.
Here.
Alderman Vitale. All are present.
14 present, we do have a quorum. The next portion of the meeting is devoted to public comment. Statements are limited to legislative functions of the Board of Aldermen. Please use every effort to limit public speaking to the permissible business of the Board of Aldermen. The time granted to each speaker shall be 3 minutes. Taxpayers, residents, and electors may address the board. The board encourages speakers not to express derogatory, insensitive, or offensive statements, or to engage in personal attacks against individuals. In order to allow everyone an opportunity to speak, I'd ask everyone to please limit their comments to 3 minutes. Please keep in mind that the structure of our meeting does not allow for a two-way dialogue during public comment or to answer any of your questions. Residents can contact their district alderman by phone or email regarding any issue or concerns. We welcome and appreciate your comments and concerns regarding city business and community matters, and all will be taken into consideration. Anyone wishing to address the board can do so at this time. Please state your name and address clearly for the record.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Thomas. I reside at 8 Argyle Road. I'm a taxpayer and a resident. And I really enjoyed saying for liberty and for all just now. Liberty and justice for all. Right now, I don't have my full liberty and justice because I live in the 2nd District, and I don't have one of my duly appointed electors here, one of my duly appointed aldermen here. So I would just ask that this board, hopefully after having a few weeks to mull over something, I can't quite tell what. I teach civics and government. I have degrees in American history. I know that any discussion of conflict of interest is silly. I am heard on good authority. You've been instructed by your town attorney that there is no conflict of interest. And I gotta say, it just saddens me that I even have to come here and ask for my full representation in the United States of America, a country founded on no taxation without representation. I pay my taxes. I gladly pay my taxes, but I would like my representation. All right, there was a vote. There were 2 Democrats and 1 Republican elected. One of the Democrats stepped down. In this process agreed on by both parties, someone was duly appointed, and I cannot think of a reason, and you can't either, because you didn't give one last time, on why you shouldn't seat this person. So please seat the 2nd District's duly appointed representative. Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. My name is Samantha, and I live at 90 Pine Knob Terrace. I'm here with a few of my neighbors. They're in the back. There is a dog at 110 Pine Knob Terrace who has bit 2 people since 2023 when they moved in. That's 1 bite per year. I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. I only live 2 houses down and feel very vulnerable when outside. Myself and my fellow neighbors have voiced concerns multiple times to animal control and the police and have not had proper action taken to keep us all safe in our neighborhood. I was told by an animal control officer to carry bear mace with me every day on my property. That does not feel right or possible at all times. Kids riding bike alone in the street cannot carry mace, and it is not a solution to my concerns. I don't feel safe walking down the street or allowing my kids to walk by this dog. Many neighbors don't walk past this house with their dogs or kids for this reason. The dog is a cane corso, which is a large breed with a very strong bite, and it is a nuisance. We do have a nuisance law that states no person shall own or harbor a dog or dogs which is or are a nuisance by reason of vicious disposition or excessive barking or other disturbance, or is or are a source of annoyance to any sick person residing in the immediate vicinity. Both for each subsequent violation for any provision of this section shall be fined not more than $100 and imprisoned not more than 30 days, both for each subsequent offense, and the court judge may make such order concerning the restraint of disposal of such dog or dogs as may be deemed necessary. There's also a public nuisance law that states whether or not on the property of its owner that without provocation, molestation, attacks, or otherwise unreasonably interferes with the freedom of movement, which this dog does. Many people do not use the street, down the end of that street, of a person's in a right-of-way or private property or that of the dog's owner. There are a few questions, I know you can't answer them. Why does this nuisance law not apply? Why are we waiting for this dog to bite again? Who is responsible when this does happen again? I am aware there is a bite report that needs to be filed within 10 days. I'm not sure if that's something we can change the limit to if someone's injured. 10 days may not be possible if they're in a hospital or, just coming back from being bitten by a large dog. What other actions can we take, and will I hear a follow-up, or should we return to next month's meeting? Thank you again for your time and consideration on this highly important safety concern.
Good evening. Brian Anderson, 49 Ingersoll Road. Came tonight to ask you to break the impasse and permit Antonia Lombardi to assume her rightful place on the Board of Aldermen from the 2nd District. As a former alderman myself who served with the mayor and a number of you, I can attest to the importance of your board. You adopt Milford's annual budget priorities, you fund all municipal operations, and you approve resident volunteers to serve on various boards and commissions, among other duties. Your role within the charter-granted authority is unparalleled, and by charter, structurally representative of minority party representation, as well as that of the majority. And because of that inherent recognition of bipartisanship, there has been a long-standing tradition of respecting the nominees offered by the political parties. I ask for regular order and confirmation of Ms. Lombardi to the 2nd District aldermanic vacancy. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Laura Wasigis. Would you like me to spell that for you? I live at 58 Greenfield Road in Milford. I have 2 quick points that I wanted to bring up. Just came from the 8:30G meeting earlier tonight, and I was wondering what, if anything, has our administration done as far as counting affordable housing units. And my second point is, can we please add the Purple Pantry back onto the budget for next year and not have it dropped off at the last minute? That's it. Thank you.
My name is Patrick Barrett, 60 South Broad Street, apartment 3A. It is remarkable to see the new lows that certain BOA members have risen to. They have denied the people of the 2nd District full representation by voting against seating Tony Lombardi on the basis of a conflict of interest since she is a member of the Board of Ed. The reasons have the value of a $3 bill since records prove past BOA members have served both BOA and BOE at the same time for both parties. There are some people, no matter who they are, who think rules and morals do not apply to them, or rather only apply to them when it works in their favor, like, say, the kind of people who would park in a residence-only designated spot at an apartment building, or when asked to give to charity, say, "What do I get out of it?" The reason Tony was denied her seat was not due to a conflict of interest on her part, but because certain BOA members have conflicts of interest with the 2nd District. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Stu Zolte, 171 Magnolia Road. Good evening, everyone. 1 month ago, I sat in this chamber and witnessed history. For the first time in decades, perhaps the first time ever, an appointment to fill a vacancy on this elected board was left unfilled. It was rejected. In doing so, thousands of residents of the 2nd District were left underrepresented in their city's government. This stood in sharp contrast to the month prior, when now Alderman Chris Height was appointed and approved unanimously. After that vote, Milford Republicans posted on Facebook, quite proudly, "This was done because of the respect we have for precedent and our belief that the citizens of Milford's 1st District deserve full representation." So what changed from August to September? What made Alderman Height's appointment acceptable and Mrs. Lombardi's not? Is the 1st District more deserving representation than the 2nd? I happen to live in the 1st District. I think it's quite special. I don't think it's worth more than the 2nd's. No one who voted no would go on the record as to explain why you voted no. So we have to ask, why did you vote no? You have a chance again tonight to fix that problem. There was claims that this was about a conflict of interest. Mrs. Lombardi is a school secretary and therefore an employee of the Board of Education. This board technically votes on the Board of Education's budget. But I'll point out that this appointment is only through the end of the unexpired term, a couple weeks away. And there's no Board of Ed business before this board in that time. So any theoretical conflict of interest doesn't apply. So per tonight's agenda, item 8A, you'll again be asked to fill the seat by appointing Tony Lombardi. If you plan to vote no again, then at least have the respect to tell the public why. Why are you voting no? Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Liz Maurer. I reside at 22 Norway Street in Milford. I've been a voter and a 2nd District member for 38 years now. I have always believed that what we're seeing on the national level, the unprofessional behavior, the unstatesmanlike behavior, would not ever happen here in Milford. I believed we were better, that Milford governance was better than this. But I have to say, I am so disappointed in the fact that certain Board of Aldermen would not appoint a qualified person to represent the 2nd District. How can this be happening in Milford? It is unconscionable that members of this board have abdicated their responsibility to the residents of the 2nd District. My disappointment, in particular, extends to Mr. Marlowe, who is a representative of the 2nd District. So, my question is, do you only represent certain people of the 2nd District? How can you not vote to fill a seat? The voters will remember this. November 4th is just around the corner. Early voting begins October 20th. This will be remembered.
Hi, my name is Catherine Lutz. I live at 178 Anderson Avenue in Milford, and I will be very brief. I agree with all of the statements of the folks speaking before me to fill this empty seat, but I will add one thing. It is not just the 2nd District that is missing representation. None of your votes are by district. None of your votes impact just one district. Every single vote impacts the entire city and every resident of Milford. Failure to fill that seat, and we don't know why, but failure to fill that seat means every resident in Milford is missing out on full representation. So I see a placard with Tony Lombardi's name on it, and I'm hoping that means that you have decided tonight to fill that position to give all of the residents in Milford full representation. Thank you.
My name is Nadine Padowitz. I live at 34 Anderson Avenue. Welcome to the sovereign state of Connecticut, the Constitution state, if you will. I will begin with a quote from Gloria Steinem. "The truth shall set you free, but first it will piss you off. So please keep your woke in check for the next 3 minutes. I am going to say things you don't want to hear. They are my truth. I am here because last month, the Republican Board of Aldermen members voted against the Democratic nominee to fill an empty Democratic seat in the 2nd District, leaving the 2nd District underrepresented, and as Kathy stated, leaving all of Milford underrepresented. Tony Lombardi is a highly educated, brilliant, and hardworking woman and will make an excellent Board of Aldermen member. These seats have already been democratically elected by the district. In fact, just the month prior to the BOA, the BOA confirmed another Democratic seat unanimously. He was, of course, a man. The Milford Republican Town Committee even put up a post on their Facebook page explaining why unanimously voting in favor of Democratic appointments to Democratic seats is the right thing to do. But now that the appointee is a woman, it's suddenly time to break precedent with no reason given? This is blatant misogyny. And it is disgusting. In fact, I have been watching elected Republicans bully Democratic women, as well as a woman city employee, for 2 years now. Let me tell you, it takes a very small man. I'm talking a mushroom sort of a man to relentlessly bully women for no reason. But why am I surprised? I've seen the Milford Republican Town Committee Facebook page. It's all Daffy Tramp all the time. You are MAGA 100%. You idolize a bona fide sociopath. So what does that say about you? He is a thug who is destroying our democracy, and you lick his boots. You go to Mar-a-Lago and take pictures with him, and you haven't even figured out that you are his pawns. You know what happens to Nazi bootlickers? they get kicked in the teeth. That's right. Trump and his Nazi henchmen don't just hate immigrants, women, liberals, the LGBTQ community, books, big words that describe fascism, universities. No, the list is endless. They even hate Jews and Catholics. That's right. After they have taken all of us away, they will come for you too. My genes have survived the first Holocaust, and they will survive this one. My people survive because we are perceptive, cunning, and we are warriors. But you Board of Alder members have a choice tonight. You can choose to do the right thing and restore decency and democracy to Milford by confirming Tony Lombardi, or you can continue your war on women and go down in history as the homegrown Nazis of Milford, Connecticut.
Mr. Chairman, you're allowing this?
It's called my First Amendment right.
Hi, my name is Sarah Derer, and I live at 15 Rock Road. I read the minutes of the last meeting, and it wasn't clear to me from them what actually Attorney Burcham had said to the question that Mr. Pacelli had asked. So I actually went and read Connecticut General Statute 7421, 2024. And I am no lawyer, but it seemed pretty clear to me, and I have since confirmed that it was also said by Attorney Burcham that there is no legal impediment to Tony Lombardi being put on the Board of Alders. And as a former journalist, if Republican aldermen are going to continue to deny second district voters, and indeed, as Kathy Lutz said, all of Milford voters full representation, then I believe very strongly in ethics and transparency, and they should be transparent and tell voters why they are not following precedent, as so many have before them. What's more, we need young, energetic, committed people in government, and Tony Lombardi is certainly one of those people. So I urge you, please, to vote her onto the board. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Bob Dickinson, 30 Grant Street. Going to change the subject for you tonight. My topic is much needed regulations of short-term rentals, also known as Airbnbs and VRBOs in Milford. Milford's a beautiful town with more shoreline than any other Connecticut town. Because of Milford's attractiveness and beaches, we are attracting an unprecedented level of investors in short-term rentals. 50% of the towns in Connecticut have some sort of regulations on short-term rentals. Milford has no regulations. Milford has experienced a 59% increase in short-term rentals year over year. This is damaging the fabric of our neighborhoods. In the summertime, we experience the never-ending parade of strangers in our neighborhood, weekend after weekend. The investors then use their properties for academic rentals in the off-season. Imagine having 4 students and all of their friends partying next door through the wintertime. Short-term rentals erode the availability of housing in a housing shortage and generate nuisance activity for those that live here, such as noise, parties, and parking problems. The house next door to ours was recently purchased by an LLC. We are allowing a business to operate in a residential neighborhood. Milford needs minimum length of stay ordinances and maximum occupancy ordinances for short-term rentals. Thank you very much.
Good evening. James Wasigis, 58 Greenfield Road, Milford. I have 4 items that I'd like you to consider. First, the 830G Affordable Housing Act. To date, I haven't heard a clear strategy on how best to accommodate this state requirement in Milford. How are we going to meet it? Plans towards securing a moratorium, etc. If there is one, I'd like to see it posted on the Milford Government's website so it's easy to see what the plan is and what's being done. I would like the Board of Aldermen to take more initiative on this, as it's not a clearly understood topic and is a major concern for voters. You should be talking with the people in your districts, educating them, bringing back thoughts and ideas to the mayor, pushing for a concrete proposal on development zones, plans, etc., to limit its abuse and ensure it's applied in a way that makes sense for the city and its residents, not the contractors. I would very much like to see this pushed as a top priority for the mayoral term for 2027. Election rules. I would like to see the election rules amended to require at least one Q&A session, debate, or whatever you want to call it, for mayoral candidates prior to election, where the candidates must attend a discussion around what the candidates plan to do, discussed in as concrete terms as possible. Things like how long you live in Milford or how committed you are to the city, the respect you have can be left out. For me, the commitment and respect is shown by how well thought out the plans are and if they line up with the city and residents' priorities. The mayoral term, I think this has come up in the past. I'd like to raise the topic again of looking into increasing the mayoral term to 4 years. I'm interested in options and pros and cons. It doesn't seem like there's enough time for a mayor to start initiatives and follow them through to fruition in 2 years. If this is considered, it must be an open discussion with the public involved and given the opportunity to vote on. As far as I know, Bristol, Hamden, Hartford, New Haven, and Stratford have four-year terms. Do we know if it's working? What's the good and the bad with it? And finally, regarding the current election cycle, unfortunately, I've heard stories of partisanship and party infighting. If it's true, it's very disappointing, and there's no place for that in Milford. There are no mandates based on party majorities. There's only doing what's right for Milford and its citizens, listening to what we feel is important and what we want for our town. In our town, that means taking input from all points of view, compromise, and deciding the best course of action, and then taking that action and letting us know what your progress is. As we all know, our elected officials work for the residents of Milford, not self-interest or their parties. So if we've deviated from that, you should be helping to adjust the course and getting back to it. Thank you.
My name is Damon Ralph, and I live at 31 Chestnut Lane. Our national dysfunction has come to Milford. The precedent set at the last Board of Aldermen meeting is that our elected representatives can now thumb their noses at decades of political civility, deny thousands of tax-paying Milford residents their full and rightful representation, and to do so with no public explanation whatsoever. Ladies and gentlemen, I reject this precedent. Tonight, I'm going to propose a different precedent, a precedent that will guarantee we don't spiral out of control locally as we're seeing nationally. Would you all like to be a part of that solution right here, right now? We're going to start by relentlessly finding ways to agree. Everyone in this room wants low taxes, great schools, and an intelligently designed community. We're going to focus on that from now on and work together regardless of affiliation. Second, we're going to ignore anyone who tells us political parties are more important than community. Political parties only have the power we choose to give them, and at no point should we prioritize them over each other. Third, and this is the big one, we're going to let our resentments go. We're going to forgive without being asked for forgiveness. And we're going to go first with no expectation of reciprocity. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. Letting go isn't as hard as you may think. In fact, I'm doing it right now, and it's easy. I just looked in the mirror one morning and I said, something has to change. Maybe it's me that has to change. I'd like to invite any Republican who's interested to come to my home. I want to shake your hand and get to know you personally. Gentlemen, I want to know about your passions and how you met your wives and what your kids do that make you proud. Democrats, if you want to join in that gathering, you are more than welcome as well. The only rule is no partisan politics, only love. I know many of you are public about your religious beliefs, and I applaud that. It's important to have a moral code. In fact, there's a passage of the Bible that inspires me greatly. It's when Jesus was asked, "What is the most important commandment?" To which he replied, "Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and greatest commandment." And without being asked, Jesus then said, "And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." These are the two most important commandments. Gentlemen, show your love for your neighbors tonight by voting Tony in. Thank you.
I'm Sarah Wood from 198 Gulf Street here in Milford. Good evening, members of the board. A few months ago, this body moved quickly and proudly to fill a vacancy. That vote was public, it was celebrated, it was even posted on Facebook with enthusiasm and praise from both sides of the aisle, as it should be. People saw the process work, and then they were told this board could be trusted to act, regardless of party. However, now we are asking why that same speed and public pride evaporated when the candidate is a woman. Tony Lombardi is running for the 2nd District. She's qualified, she has the experience this role requires, yet instead of the same openness and urgency we saw before, we got delay, hesitation, and silence, and that is not coincidence, it's a double standard. Do not gaslight this community by pretending this is about procedure or paperwork or anything else. We know what happens all too often when women step forward to lead. Misogyny doesn't disappear because it's inconvenient to name it. Playing favorites does not stop being playing favorites because it's useful. Milford deserves honesty, and the 2nd District deserves fairness. Tony Lombardi deserves the same straightforward consideration that was given to others. If you are proud, as you say you are, of the way this board governs, show it now. If you have reasons for holding back, say them plainly. Let the people hear the justifications. Let the community judge whether those reasons hold water, or whether this is a reflexive refusal to support a woman seeking to serve her neighbors. This is an opportunity to be consistent. This is an opportunity to be fair, and I ask you to take that opportunity. The people of the 2nd District deserve nothing less. Thank you.
The name is Gus Montanaro. I live at Aspen Circle, Milford, Connecticut. I came to the meeting tonight, I had no idea what the conversation was going to be about. This whole thing is totally new to me. But I do want to make a comment in defense of the people who voted against the person that they put up for the 2nd District. I myself, in the last city that I lived in, was a member of their city council. I would never support anybody who works, has a salary from any department that this body controls financially. They don't belong on the council. There are 2 ways that you can alleviate this problem. Your candidate resigns from the Board of Education, or maybe you should pick somebody else. Thank you.
My name is Sandra Morgan. I live at 39 Orland Street, which is the 5th District. We have both parties representing our district, and to not seat a representative for the city of Milford is, I don't know, I'm really surprised that one party would vote against another party for the good of the city. So I also am asking you to seat a representative from the 2nd District. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I want to change subject. I know lots of passion tonight about the election for the seat. However, I would like to speak regarding the item 12 on today's agenda for you to consider. That is related to some adjustments to the Public Act 2446 from the last year session, which was adopted by Connecticut legislature. I didn't introduce myself. I apologize for that. My name is Eugenia Penn, and I live at 93 Holly Avenue, obviously in Milford and Woodmont. And I'm a widow of the Purple Heart, Bronze Star, Distinguished Flying Cross, and 21 more medals and awards from the Air Force to my late husband, Lieutenant Colonel, the fighter pilot, Richard Penn. He served his country with honor for 26 years after graduating in the first class of U.S. Air Force Academy. Just historical fact now, that class was 300 cadets out of 60,000 applicants. Each of those was nominated by the respective senator. So he served for 26 years, and last 34 years we were residents of Milford, and I remain a resident of Milford. Sadly, he passed away in November 2016 from 100% service-connected disability. And prior to that, he was also 100% service-connected disabled. As I said, he served our country for 26 years, refusing to move out from the active duty assignments to the lucrative options to fly for the commercial airlines. And you know, many pilots do that. They get training and then they move to airlines to make millions on the way. Instead, he stayed committed, humble, and serving his country. He volunteered to fly in Vietnam. He didn't have to go, he volunteered as a fighter pilot. He accomplished 92 missions in Vietnam. The last one didn't go very well. It was not successful, he was shut down. But managed to get to neutral waters to avoid becoming yet another prisoner of war. He got very fortunate. He got picked up from the dark waters of southern seas by our brave navies. He survived that incident, but that event did major damage to his health that manifested itself years later. Incidentally, also another fact, he was a good friend with John McCain, And every year, John would call my husband and ask, hey, Colonel Penn, are you still around? Are you surviving? And they had a lot of miles of those jokes going around. As you know, McCain did become prisoner of war, so in similar circumstances. Last year, Connecticut state legislature adopted Public Act 2446, which allows survivors of the 100% service-connected disabled veterans and their survivors to have tax breaks on dwelling. My application, which was completely qualified, was denied because at that time, last year, it was only applicable to survivors who lost their spouses after October 1st, 2024. So whatever happened before didn't matter. There is, in addition to living service-connected disabled veterans, there is another category which is completely overlooked, and I spoke with many members of this esteemed committee. It's the survivors of the veterans who actually died from the 100% service-connected event or illness. My husband had both, but this is two distinct categories. One is somebody lives with the disability and may die from something else, will never qualify as the death by Veterans Affairs related to the service-connected. In the opposite spectrum, somebody can still function but die from the service-connected disability. It's two separate events. So the law kind of doesn't look to those details, which kind of tells me that whoever wrote that law really doesn't understand how military works. So I'm here to petition this board to, I know there is amendment which was approved by Connecticut to this Public Act 2446 recently, which allows local governments to consider special considerations for the veterans who qualifies for this event, to remove this limitation of October 1st, 2024, which seems like right thing to do, because otherwise the survivors of, like me, of those who passed before, you know, the sacrifices our loved ones did for their country, for our country, just basically not just not acknowledged, but simply just dismissed. They don't matter. So I think this is the right thing to do, to look back and really honor all qualified survivors in this case. And by the way, Milford being very, how to say, good place for people to be, after 9/11 adopted the legislation for survivors of 9/11 to have also some tax breaks. So I think this is something you really need to consider and really honor those who serve and dedicated their lives to our country. Thank you.
To the mayor and the esteemed members of the board, my name is Matthew Archuleta. I live at 16 Westmore Road. I'm a 4th District constituent. And I think on behalf of everyone here, ma'am, thank you for your service, thank you for your husband's service, and God bless you. I'm a former U.S. Army Special Forces Green Beret, and I spoke last month about the Gold Star families, surviving spouses, and disabled veterans property tax exemption that was added to the state budget and passed. First and foremost, I want to express my support for adding Gold Star families and surviving spouses to this. You have that opportunity today. Let Milford lead the way, as it did with the Gold Star Memorial just a short walk from where we are now. I support adding land to the exemption. Right now, the house or dwelling is exempt, but not the land. Imagine the irony. These veterans deployed to foreign lands left parts of themselves physically and mentally on those lands, left blood, sweat, and tears on those lands, but come back to Milford, where the Board of Aldermen tax your land. I want you to reject the cap on the exemption. Which of you will go to that Gold Star widow or the surviving spouse and say, your pain and grief are worth less than that of the Gold Star family or the surviving spouse 4 blocks over? Sure, you lost your soldier, sailor, or Marine, or airman, but move the kids away from their home, their memories, and their school because now you can't afford it. You get a surprise tax bill. Or what about the 62-year-old fixed income disabled veteran that suddenly gets a surprise property tax bill because the house value went up, something they have little control over? There are extenuating circumstances here. This is complicated. The city enacted an auto property tax adjustment to better predict tax revenue. Add land and reject a cap, and you can easily predict the financial information you need. Adjusting it makes it more complicated. I'll conclude with this. This is one of the few topics that should rally bipartisan support, something that we are clearly hearing a lot about tonight. This is one of those things that should rally bipartisan support. By not including Gold Star families or surviving spouses, you will fail to support families who made the ultimate sacrifice. Support them and be proud of that. I've heard mayoral candidates, Board of Aldermen candidates say that they want to lower taxes. If you cap the exemption that is already in place today, you will, in essence, raise taxes on disabled veterans 1 month before your election. It's already in place today, and adjusting that will end up raising taxes on disabled veterans. Do you want raising taxes on disabled veterans on your list of accomplishments? The sponsor of the legislative bill that we are discussing today plans to bring it forward next session with Gold Star families and land exemptions as requirements. You can end up voting to exclude Gold Star families, surviving spouses, and raise taxes on disabled veterans, and then still be required to absorb the change next year when it's passed by the legislature. That's a losing situation to be on that wrong side of that vote. I recognize this is an unfunded mandate, and nobody likes that, and the city certainly does not like that. I understand that, and I wish the legislature would step up and make that adjustment. But you have the privilege to do what so many of you already do. Thank a veteran with a meaningful impact on their lives. Thank a spouse, a surviving spouse, a Gold Star family. Vote to include Gold Star families, surviving spouses, and vote to add land exemptions. I know you'll do the right thing. I look forward to supporting you when you do. Thank you for your continued service to Gold Star families, surviving spouses, disabled veterans, and this community.
Hello, my name is Tom Jackson. I live at 336 West River Street. I'm here to comment on the section of the bill 2446. The spirit of this bill was to give tax relief to veterans who are 100% disabled, totally and permanently. Those folks can't work. They depend on what they get. That's it. And then the bean counters got a hold of it, and they changed the bill from the word property to the word dwelling. Now, a dwelling doesn't sit anywhere, it sits on the property. However, the bill was separated. So, Milford, the great community that it is, that supports the veterans the way they do, has a great opportunity here to lead the way. Include the property, I saw where it says up to 2 acres, but lead the way, do the right thing. Thank you.
John Wazensky, 4 Carriage Path North. I was planning on coming tonight to follow up on the new Shipyard Lane, but a few other topics have come up, so I'll move quickly. Looking back over the last few months, it's clear there's never been a consistent plan for the road. We're now in October. There's still no final design, no netting, no bollards. The completion dates keep changing. Public Works originally said it would happen right after the Oktoberfest. Others were told October. I'm not sure how that was ever possible with a break supposedly starting in April. We could have easily brought 20 or 30 residents to every meeting in the spring. My Alderman Federico, even mentioned last month how impactful community turnout was for Coach Scott's issue. But we thought we could make our point through the board, trusting our representatives to share the community concerns. Lately, people keep sending me patch articles about what different political candidates are saying, and two stood out. One candidate in the 5th District said, neighbors want to be a part of decisions like Fowler Field. And I couldn't agree more. So I emailed Senator Maroney 8 questions, but he only answered 6. One of the open questions is about the project's timeline. There is no timeline. But my main question tonight is this. If Senator Maroney secured an additional $1.2 million in funding, can the community at least have some input on how that money is used? For example, if this is supposed to be a beautification project, are steel-backed wooden railings like the ones on the Merritt Parkway really the best choice? Let's make sure the design reflects what the neighborhood actually wants. Another article mentioned people opposing state funds for political reasons. As an unaffiliated voter who splits my ticket regularly, I just want to be clear. This was never about politics or whether we should accept state money. It's about making sure that when we do use those funds, it's for projects with strong public support. I still don't believe this project, as constituted, has that level of support. And finally, I want to talk about renaming Milford Academy Field to honor Milford's Legion's Post. I was there when this came up a couple of seasons ago. I'm absolutely in favor of it, but I hope there's a real plan to go along with it. I spoke with the rec department, and they mentioned they're developing one, and that's great. And the Boy Scouts have already volunteered to repair and paint the dugouts like they did over at Wasson. But if we're going to rename the field to honor our veterans, it should be a field worthy of that name. When we travel to Rotary Field in South Windsor or Heroes Field in Glastonbury, they've got bullpens, batting cages, lights, concessions, and press boxes. Palmer Field has the same. Our league will gladly work with anyone to bring Milford Academy Field to that same standard, and the veterans we're honoring, and those here tonight, deserve nothing less. Thank you.
It's me again, Tom Jackson, 336 West River Street. I'm one of the commanders of American Legion Post 196. We were founded in 1964. We have a place in the Woodmont section. I'm here with another gentleman who is one of the commanders of Post 34. They got their charter in 1919. They've been here for quite a while. We've had people that have been born here, lived here, played ball here, and are buried here. We think that it's about time that we got a little respect at the Legion. We're asking to get the field renamed, and your support is 100% necessary. I don't know what else I can say. This is my last time. Bye.
Good evening. My name is Gordon Parmley, 101 Long Island View Road, Milford. I'm the adjutant for Post 34, and no, I wasn't around in 1919. I know that most of you, all of you, will support the renaming of the Milford Academy Field to the American Legion Field, and I want to thank you in advance for your vote. Thank you.
Hi,
I'm Sarah Bromley, 27 Norway Street. I was hanging back because I knew nobody wanted to follow those gentlemen, who I fully support and would like to see their wishes be voted on. And I'm going to say thank you too. So I want to thank you all for your votes because I'm an optimist. I'm hoping that like Mr. Ralph was saying, that we lead with love for our neighbors in our town and do the right thing. Let's hope that that's what happens. If, however, another reality happens here tonight, I'd like to say that I am a resident of the 2nd District. I have been without full representation from this board. I am not happy about that. I'm a taxpayer. I lack representation. If the vote does not go the way my optimism would make me hope, I would like to request that all of you, all the nay votes and the yea votes, all of you, consider giving us an explanation for your vote. That happens sometimes, but I think that the approximately 3,100 taxpayers in the 2nd District are currently being cheated and deserve an explanation for how you're voting, especially if it's a nay vote for Tony Lombardi. Especially because also the reasoning I've heard so far doesn't hold water at all. Lawyers have said it too, and we have the example historically of our beloved Marty Hardiman, who lived in Milford for 49 years and spent 18 of those years on Board of Aldermen, 5 years on, don't have it committed to memory, 5 years on the Zoning Board of Appeals, 6 years on Milford Board of Education, 10 years as an elected constable. All of those posts he held were not a conflict of interest because he was on the board, he was a Board of Education employee also. That wasn't a problem then, and it clearly isn't even a problem now because we also have a Board of Finance member who works for the Board of Education, happens to be in the Republican Party. So historically and today, what I've heard, the only explanation I've heard for not seating Tony Lombardi up here was one that just doesn't hold water. It didn't then, doesn't now. So given that, if there are any nay votes tonight, I would feel I deserve, and the other members of the 2nd District, and all of the constituents of Milford deserve to know exactly why. Whether it's right here tonight or whether it's outside on the steps, I welcome a conversation with any of you, and I deserve it.
Good evening. My name's Laura Fusey. I live at 418 Anderson Avenue. The elected Democratic Town Committee members of the 2nd District voted to replace Alder Willis with Tony Lombardi to serve out the term. The residents of the 2nd District, as well as the rest of Milford, deserve to be represented fully on the Board of Aldermen. Please follow past precedent and vote for Tony Lombardi to take her place on the board tonight. I'd like to address another difficult issue. It's a matter that concerns me as an American citizen. If you've been following the news, you're aware that the current President of the United States has been making escalating statements that I'd like to note and address. In a November 11th, 2023 Veterans Day speech, he said, "We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin in the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections. On an October 13th, 2024 Fox interview, he said, "I always say we have two enemies. We have the outside enemy, and then we have the enemy from within. The enemy from within, in my opinion, is more dangerous than China, Russia, and all these countries. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by the National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military." In a July 3rd, 2025 speech, Trump had said the following about Democrats: "I hate them. I cannot stand them. I believe they really hate our country, if you want to know the truth." In an October 3rd, 2025 social media post, the president declared, "The Democratic Party is the party of hate, evil, and Satan. The Democratic Party is dead. They have no leadership, no message, no hope. Their only message for America is to hate Trump." I am a Milford Deputy Registrar of Voters. I help run free and fair elections in Milford. I work alongside of and with Republicans. I am a registered Democrat. The rhetoric this president is using is demeaning, dehumanizing, and dangerous. The First Amendment of the United States Constitution protects our right to disagree and peacefully oppose those in power. In America, we're supposed to be able to differ in our beliefs without fear of punishment. It no longer feels safe to do so. There is an incivility and aggression that's growing in this country. We should not allow it to continue to spread here in Milford. I'm your neighbor. I am a member of this community. I am not the enemy. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the board can do so at this time.
Hi, my name is Maddie. And I live on Meadowside Road in Milford.
And my name is Kyle Fishbein. I live at 195 Meadowside Road with Maddie, my wife Tony, and my son Jesse, who's hiding somewhere in the back. But I just wanted to come up today, and Maddie wanted to come up because we came up last time we had this meeting, last time we had this agenda item, and like a lot of others who spoke today, I agree. I mean, not even speaking as Tony's husband, which I did extensively last time around, as a resident of Milford, as a resident of the 2nd District, we do not deserve this. As a city, as a district, it's not fair. I mean, I work in politics, I know how this stuff works, you know, I get it. But when it comes to my wife, I don't take excuses, and I haven't even heard one to try to justify it. So I'm hoping that when I leave here today, we'll have the votes necessary to put Tony Lombardi on the Board of Aldermen, and me, myself, Maddie, Jesse, everybody else in the 2nd District in Milford, we can all go home fully represented tonight. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the board can do so at this time.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to everyone who spoke before me. In favor of me or not, your voice matters, and I'm very, very glad that you shared it tonight. And to our veterans, thank you so much for your service. My name is Tony Lombardi. I'm a mom, I'm a neighbor, I'm a public servant, and someone who believes that what unites us as a community is stronger than anything that tries to divide us. Lately, there's been some talk about whether my role as a school secretary is a conflict of interest when it comes to serving on this board. So I want to take a few minutes to share not just my qualifications, but my story. Because this isn't about politics, it's about people. I noticed my 2-page resume that I included last month wasn't fully included. In the effort of transparency, I want to share more about my history with all of you. In 2020, I was a single mom. I had a young 5-year-old. I was working 3 jobs in different restaurants during the pandemic trying to keep a roof over our heads. At the same time, I was finishing my degree and interning at the state capitol, learning, writing policy, and helping constituents navigate some of the hardest moments of their lives. That internship taught me that good government isn't about partisanship. It's about listening, solving problems, and finding common ground. That internship is also where I met my husband. That same year, I helped create, present, and implement a smoke-free campus policy at Housatonic Community College. It passed because I worked collaboratively across departments, across beliefs, and built something better for everybody. After college, I took on civic engagement work in a faith-based nonprofit fighting inequities across our state. I represented people who often felt ignored. I helped neighbors register to vote, understand local issues, and believe that their voices mattered. Not because of what party they belonged to, and truthfully, I never knew what party they belonged to, but because they mattered as people. In 2020, I went through one of the hardest times of my life. We had a house fire, and my family lost everything. But the community around me, some friends, some strangers, they all wrapped their arms around us. They reminded me what real public service looks like. It's neighbors helping neighbors, no questions asked. However, through this trial, we were able to move where we always wanted to, and that's right here in Milford. Later in my career, I returned to the Capitol to serve as the clerk for the Aging Committee, which is widely known as the most bipartisan committee in Hartford. It was one of the most rewarding roles I've ever held. In that room, the focus wasn't on political wins, it was on doing right by our seniors. I can't express how heartwarming it was to see an entire board light up green, which means voting in the affirmative. Every single person voted in the affirmative. That experience shaped the kind of public servant I strive to be, someone who listens more than they speak, and someone whose solutions are better when everyone's at the table. I've held other roles, but I'll dive right into my current role, the role at the subject of this opposition. Every day, I help families navigate our school system. I support teachers, I listen to students, and I see up close how decisions made in rooms like this one ripple into real lives. So no, my job isn't a conflict of interest. It's a front row seat to what matters. I'm running because I believe we need more voices at the table who understand how policy meets real life. We need people who aren't chasing headlines or party points. We need people who get the work done. I've worked in bipartisan spaces. I've built policy. I've knocked doors. I've lived paycheck to paycheck. I've raised 2 kids while building a life rooted in service. And I'm still here. I'm still showing up because I believe in Milford and I believe what it can be. This city gave me a second chance when I needed one. Let me share something that happened recently. I received a call at my workplace from someone who had voted against my appointment to the Board of Aldermen. They were reaching out on behalf of their organization asking for my help. Do you know what I did? I did my job. I didn't ask how they voted. I didn't make it political. I didn't hold a grudge. I found the answer to their question, followed up the next day, and gave them exactly what they needed. Because that's what public service is supposed to be about, regardless of politics. Regardless of personal opinion, we serve everybody, or we shouldn't be serving at all. Thank you. In that same spirit of transparency, I want to make something very clear. Yes, I work in our public schools, but the Board of Aldermen does not vote on individual school staff salaries. We don't vote whether a secretary position stays or goes. We don't vote on our salaries. We don't vote on the salaries of others. We vote on the general budget. That responsibility, who stays, who goes, the itemized list, that responsibility lies with the Board of Education. My salary is determined through collective bargaining by my union, not by me and not by this board. So I'll ask, and I know you can't respond out loud, but I am asking honestly. At what point does a supposed conflict of interest end? If it's not me, would it be a problem if my spouse worked in the schools? My siblings, my best friends? How far are we going to stretch the rules to silence the voices of people who actually understand how these systems work because we live in them? I'm not here to play politics. I'm here to serve with integrity. And that's exactly what I've done and will continue to do, whether someone supports me or not. Because when we lead with transparency, with compassion, and with a heart for public service, everybody benefits. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the board can do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll go on with the agenda time. Agenda number 3, consideration of minutes. Alderman Pacelli.
Agenda item number 3, consideration of minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Aldermen held on September 8th, 2025.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like a recess.
We are out of recess. Next item on the agenda is agenda item number 4, consideration of minutes of the special organization meeting. There was none. The next item on the agenda is chairman's report and recommendations. I just want to let everyone know this is October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. But the other thing I want to mention was I was a little bit disappointed in the public speaking that got a little out of hand. You need to watch in the future derogatory comments in any direction in the future. I just wanted to mention that. By the time I was going to say anything, it was over. It's hard to, in my position, it's hard to evaluate what the next word out of their mouths are going to be. So I did the best I could, but I just want to let you know, in the future, you need to really keep an eye on your derogatory comments. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to the members of the board and good evening to everyone here in attendance. Thank you for joining us here tonight. As the chairman indicated, October marks Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We proudly recognize Milford's own Get in Touch Foundation for its impactful work educating young people on the importance of self-screening. For more information, I would advise you to visit getintouchfoundation.org or download their app. They do have an app. So it's very important. Thank you. In October is also the month of Italian Heritage. The Columbus Day flag raising will be hosted this Thursday at City Hall from 9 to 10 a.m. I'm sorry, October 9th at 10 a.m. we'll be raising the Italian flag. I want to thank the Public Works Department for putting out the Italian flags throughout the downtown area, throughout the green. We truly appreciate that. And you may have noticed City Hall, we're actually updating it and we're restoring the front of City Hall. It's long overdue. As you may know, the sun hits City Hall all day long and it takes a beating, but it's starting to look great. The Public Works Department is working diligently, so we're so grateful for their work once again, and it's so important to continue to preserve and protect our historical heritage here in Milford, especially here at City Hall. So that's something that we all will be very happy when it's done, and it's going to look great. The other upcoming events is the Ticker Trot 5K. Support the Bethel Center with a Halloween-themed 5K on Saturday. That's October 25th, beginning at 9 a.m. We also have, I will be opening, I should say, City Hall again for Halloween for the kids to come here October 31st from 2 to 4:30. So if you have young children and you want to get them dressed up, have them come down here. Look forward to seeing them in their costumes. We're going to be giving out some candy to the kids. It's a great family event, and it's a tradition that I think is really important. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to come to City Hall, especially the kids, and most parents have never been here. So it's a good way to get people here. And the Veterans Day wreath laying ceremony is Tuesday, November 11th, 11 a.m. outside City Hall. That's another very important day. We have our veterans here representing us. Thank you for your service to all the veterans from Post 196 and Post 34 and all the veterans throughout the city. The parade, the Veterans Day Parade, will be Sunday, November 9th, with a step-off at 1 p.m. and we'll follow the traditional parade route through downtown. So we're looking forward to that, and we would encourage all of you to come out and support our veterans. That's a great family event as well. And last but not least is the Academy Field dedication that you heard from one of the veterans, Tom Jackson, here tonight. And this is something that has really highlighted the veterans Post 196 Legion Baseball. They've supported baseball for many, many years in the city, and we want to dedicate that field. It's going to be in honor of the American Legion Post 196. So that's another great thing that's before the board tonight. And I would encourage everyone to please consider all the agenda items from 8A to 8H, and I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We'll go on to item number 6. And item number 7, unfinished business, there is none. And we'll go on to agenda item number 8, new business, Alderman Maselli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agenda item 8A, pursuant to Article 2, Section 6 of the Charter of the City of Milford, Board of Aldermen approval is requested for the appointment of Antonia Lombardi, 195 Meadowside Road, to complete the unexpired term of Ward Willis on the Board of Aldermen representing the 2nd District.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Morenin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. First of all, I just want to thank all the comments that came forward in support of Tony Lombardi in this position. And I just want to also echo that this is not a political party issue. It's not a D issue, it's not an R issue. It's a people issue. We, as all members on this board, are here to serve the people of Milford. This is a people issue. Based on our vote last month, I gather we only need one vote more to get Tony Lombardi to take the appropriate seat. So I'm going to ask, and I asked last time as well, that before you cast your vote, you pause and you think about what really our Milford residents deserve and what our role is to ensure their representation. And I believe that goodness can prevail even in a flawed world. So please, consider being the one that makes the difference.
Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, just a comment. I was not here last month. If I was, I certainly would have voted to seat Tony Lombardi into this seat as a member of the board and as a Democrat. I encourage my fellow colleagues on both sides to, as we've heard in passionate statements here, this evening, to focus on what we are here to do, to serve the citizens of Milford collectively, and the importance of representation. And I think that it was an administrative error previously not to seat her, and I'm hoping that that'll be corrected tonight. I respect my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. I've listened, we've debated different topics, we've had conversations about many things, and I truly believe that there's no negative sentiment relative to that. I just refer to it as an administrative error, and thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the board, I just want to say I agree wholeheartedly with the sentiments of Alderman Morenin and Alderman Healy. I think that from what I heard from Ms. Lombardi tonight, what I heard last month, and what I know of her, I believe she is 100% qualified for this position, 100% an appropriate person to fill this position, and I think that putting her in this seat is the right thing to do.
Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Roll call vote, Madam Secretary, please.
Alderman Beatty?
I'm sorry, did you call me?
I did.
Yes, approved.
Alderman Bevan?
No.
Alderman Casey?
No.
Alderman Federico,
Yes.
Alderman Fowler,
No.
Alderman Healy. Yes. Alderman Height,
Yes.
Alderman Jenkins,
No.
Alderman Marlowe,
No.
Alderman Mulrennan,
Yes.
Alderman Pacelli,
Yes.
Alderman Smith, Alderman Vitro,
Yes.
Alderman Vitale. 7 yes, 7 no.
7 yes, 7 no, the motion fails.
You're gonna destroy our city just like he's destroying our country.
Disgraceful.
Do you guys have children? Do you care about our kids? Do you really care about our children?
Alderman Pacelli, agenda item 8B. I'm sorry, 8B has been pulled from the agenda. From the Public Works Director has asked me to remove that from the agenda. Let's have some order in the auditorium, please. We have a meeting to attend to. Alderman Pacelli, agenda item 8D.
Agenda item 8D, Board of Aldermen approval is hereby requested for the attached resolution regarding renaming the Academy baseball field.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Pacelli, agenda item 8D.
Agenda item 8E, Board of Aldermen approval is hereby requested for the attached resolution regarding U.S. Department of Homeland Security grant application for fiscal year 2024 Assistance to Firefighters Grant.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Pacelli, agenda item 8F.
Agenda item 8F, Board of Aldermen approval is hereby requested for the attached cash advance regarding U.S. Department of Homeland Security grant application for fiscal year 2024 Assistance to Firefighters Grant.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
It was removed from the agenda. Goodness. We skipped it.
Alderman Pacelli, agenda item 8G.
Agenda item 8G, Board of Aldermen approval is hereby requested for the attached resolution regarding U.S. Department of Homeland Security grant application for fiscal year 2024 Assistance to Firefighters Grant.
I second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. We're not paying attention down there, or what's happening? It's okay. Agenda item number 9, new business not on the agenda. 8H, I'm sorry. Alderman Pacelli.
Agenda item 8H, Board of Aldermen approval is hereby requested for the attached cash advance regarding U.S. Department of Homeland Security grant application for fiscal year 2024 Assistance to Firefighters Grant.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Agenda item number 9, new business not on the agenda. There is no new business. Agenda item number 10, Alderman Pacelli.
There are no budget memo transfers.
We'll move on to agenda item number 11, refunds list, consideration of refunds. Alderman Pacelli.
Agenda item 11A, consideration of refunds in the amount of $70,573.12.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Move on to agenda item number 12, report of standing committees. Ordinance Committee, Alderman Pacelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The items set forth in 12A 1, 2, 3, and 4 were each considered by the Ordinance Committee, and there was an affirmative vote to bring each of these ordinances to the full board for consideration. So I will start with item 12A1, an ordinance amending an ordinance establishing compensation of city officials and employees in the service of the City of Milford. Article 2, Public Safety, Employees, Schedule K, Police Chief and Deputy Police Chief.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Bevan.
I see the fire chief is here. We're just doing the police now. Again, I'm in error.
Alderman Federico.
Mr. Chairman, can we just get an explanation of how these dollar amounts were arrived at and some of the background, please? From the administration. Is that the finance director or the city attorney?
I'll chime in if I'm incorrect on the numbers, then I'm sure Peter will help.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, through you to Alder Federico. So, as you may recall from last month's meeting, the police union contract was approved by this board and ratified, and we're happy to report that the contract is signed. This ordinance, this Schedule K ordinance, follows our typical practice of adjusting the non-represented positions of police and deputy chief in line with the union increases. I know that at the ordinance committee level, Alderman Healy referenced, you received an initial packet and then there was an updated packet. What that reflects is there was an administrative error in terms of the chief's compensation as proposed in the ordinance did not include the wage adjustment plus the GWI. So the deputy chief position did, and that's why you got two sheets. What's before you is in line with what the union received for both positions.
Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the city attorney. So we did receive that first package of material, and then the second, and the only change again was to the police chief, and you're saying that was in line with the adjustment, the original that we received, and then 3 days later, through the city clerk's office, received a single item adjustment that only reflected the police chief. This is in line with the union contract?
Mr. Chair, through you to Alderman Healy, yes, correct.
Okay, is there any other data that deals with comparables with municipalities, comparable size municipalities, and that structure? Has that been part of this salary structure and your recommendations, you know, again, through collective bargaining, these are exempt, these senior management employees, HR's involvement in this. Is there anything else you can enlighten us in terms of the total aggregate value that's here?
Mr. Chair, through you to Alderman Healy, I can tell you that in terms of philosophically, the numbers typically follow what the union in terms of the increases. I can tell you that the median average for police chiefs across the state, and what we've looked at, we are consistent with that. It's probably within a few dollars below the median average, but right there. So similar to what we were striving for with the union contract, these proposed increases are consistent. We're not the top, we're not the bottom, we're right in the middle.
Okay, so the Director of Human Resources has, during the course of negotiations and to fulfill this requirement to uplift our senior management staff, has done those comparables and reported those? That's part of the process?
I don't know if Tanya did them, but we have them. It's part of our administration in terms of the data we have presented.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Alderman Pacelli.
Agenda item 12A2, an ordinance amending an ordinance establishing compensation of city officials and employees in the service of the city of Milford, Article 2, Public Safety Employees, Schedule R, Fire Chief and Deputy Fire Chiefs.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the city attorney again, if we could have an explanation. I know this one is not immediately following a contract, so an explanation of how the amounts were arrived at, please.
Mr. Chair, through you to Alder Federico. So I know that the Fire Commission chairperson is here, Kevin McGrath, and that's really where this conversation started in reviewing the minutes of the Fire Commission. We noted that the Fire Commission had taken up the issue of the chief and assistant chief's compensation because they were below market level across the state. And there was a request from the commission for the city to take a look at that. And they had proposed an increase, which is reflected in the ordinance before you, and provided the data for us. If you recall, the fire union contract was settled in 2020. It was a 6-year contract with a 3-year reopener in 2023, which the fire chief and assistant chiefs did get the benefit of that general wage increase, but they were still below market. So what's before you tonight is an effort to bring the position closer to market value in terms of similarly sized departments and communities. So it's a little out of turn in terms of doesn't follow the contract, but the fire union contract does not expire until June 30th of 2026. And we felt it was an important enough position and issue to bring before this board tonight. And I think Chairman McGrath can maybe fill in some of the blanks that I've created in my statement, but that's a genesis of the ordinance that's before you.
Alderman Healy.
Thank you. As a liaison for the Board of Aldermen to the Fire Commission, I want to thank Chairman McGrath. I have spoken with him relative to this. I want to thank the Fire Department and its senior management personnel for what we just voted on here this evening. There's $160,000 in value in grants that Milford is going to receive, and our percentage of that in terms of contribution is about 10%. So excellent work on behalf of the residents of Milford by our senior administration and the fire department. And I also received today from the fire chief, after conversations with the chairman about equity relative to the men and women of the fire department, There's a comparison of 7 municipal jurisdictions, which includes Milford. And what we're voting on will bring the fire chief's salary effective tomorrow to $156,339. And out of those 7 municipal jurisdictions, he'd be in the mean area of that because there are others that are higher, reflective within the data that we receive. So he'd still be shy, probably in the area of $2,200 differential. So the other thing I want to mention to the full board is when the fire department's contract is settled, probably in the next 6 months, that we should be reflecting on the service of the chief of the fire department, also in consideration of his role as the emergency manager director for this municipality. It is an awesome responsibility. The all-hazard approach to emergency management rests under his and on his shoulder and under the administration of his senior officers, and they do an outstanding job. The services that this department presents to Milford, and in particular EMS services and our paramedic service, is second to none, and they save lives every day. I will be voting for this increase for the senior administration officers, and I thank you.
Alderman Bevan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see that the fire chief is here, and before the meeting, he gave us a little packet, and I'm wondering if he could explain some of the stuff in the packet that we may or may not have a chance to read. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chief.
Question? Alderman Beatty.
Point of order, I don't know what packet you're referring to. I know, I can see, but I don't have it. I don't know what. Thank you. And this is for all of us before the meeting?
What's that? Alderman Bevan, you have any
I would
questions
just
for the
like
chief?
the chief to explain page 1 and 2 of the packet. That is my question.
Certainly. Through you, Mr. Chair, good evening, members of the Board of Aldermen, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate this opportunity to speak in support for a salary adjustment for the chief and assistant chief's positions. In regards to Alderman Bevan's question, yes, in the packet that's before you is a comprehensive listing, and I tried to keep it as short and to the point as possible. However, there's a lot of data that was compiled since this started back in, it would have been March of '24 when I became aware that the city commissioned a salary survey for non-representative employees for the city. When I received a copy of that survey, I immediately pointed out and opened a discussion with the chairman of the Fire Commission in the cities that there were some inconsistencies in the comparable departments, so I ended up providing a survey and compiled comparable departments that were more on par with the city of Milford, if you will. And this document speaks to that. And if you look on the front page down the bottom, it says to address the identified disparity, ensure continued leadership retention. There's a breakdown of the salaries that we came up with. But however, on the second page, where it should really point to the supporting documentation summary, inside your packet, there's the copies of the city's salary survey, the fire department salary survey, which we compiled, or I compiled and presented, which was reviewed by Human Resources Director Tanya Barnes, the city attorney John Burcham, and Deborah Kelly, the assistant, who agreed that it was more in line. and I appreciated their time and effort in that. I also provided a copy of the city ordinance, which outlines the Civil Service Commission's obligation to review the city's compensation plan and wage and salary ordinance annually. What I think the component that I don't want to get overlooked, and I don't think it's been highlighted or presented due to the timeline of this information reaching your desk. With the city's salary survey having been completed in March of 2024, it was brought before the Board of Aldermen in May 6th of 2024, which James Hazelkamp presented on his criteria he used to create the survey. Shortly thereafter, the Board of Aldermen approved the increases for the non-rep employees that were identified as falling below that 5% mark in the city. The fire department then contended that, hey, we also fell below that 5% mark. Why were we not considered at that point? That's what kicked off the conversations between the fire department, the fire commission, and the city, human resources and city attorney's office, which puts us here today. Almost 18 months of conversations and data, compiling data to get here to this point. The one thing that's being overlooked, and I just want to compel to you, it's not just the adjustment to the chief's positions and the assistant chief's positions as presented. The impact to us, those are the positions themselves. You would be providing or voting on an increase to make these positions that I myself occupy, Assistant Chief Wakes Norris and Assistant Chief Rabel at this current time, to bring them into market value, correct? However, the part that's missed here is because the city salary survey completed in '24 recognized that there were deficiencies in the fire department. They used inaccurate data in that salary survey. We feel at the time the non-rep employees received their raises, which I believe was July 1st of 2024, the fire department should have been included in that vote and received the compensation as well and brought up into market value. And that's what this report outlines very clearly. The data is here. It's been utilized for other department heads in the same fashion, and they received the salary adjustment. We are simply asking for your consideration for that component as well, because while the increase itself is for the positions of chief and assistant chief, the impact of the July 1st of 2024 increases and not including the fire chief and assistant chiefs is tangible for us personally. It has impacted us personally on a financial level. So I'm asking for your consideration to look at that, and I'm happy to answer any questions in regards to that or any component of this proposal. Thank you.
Alderman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, if the city has identified some deficiencies here, does this ordinance have a retroactive pay applied?
I am not aware of the ordinance having reference to retroactive pay. However, on Chapter 19, if you look, it's in your packet under Classified Employees, Section 19.1. It does state in the first paragraph that each year the Civil Service Commission shall review the compensation plan and the wage and salary ordinance and shall, in executive session, recommend to the mayor such changes as it deems necessary with due regard for ranges of pay for comparable work and other public and private employment in the area, employee benefits received by employees, the financial policy of the city, and other economic considerations. Now, recently, I sent an email, and this is also included in your packet, should be in the back page, a copy of an email correspondence, a request I made from Catherine Sudby in the payroll department. I made an appeal to Catherine that, has there ever been a salary adjustment for the fire department chief and assistant chiefs on record in the payroll division? And her reply was, there was no record in her office that has ever been done. You could find that under the supporting documentation summary on page 2 of the cover letter, highlighted as payroll response.
Mr. Chairman, I have a follow-up. Chief, just thinking about the ordinance we just passed and thinking about this one here, has the police chief or deputy police chief positions ever received an increase outside of the ordinance?
To my knowledge, yes, but I would appeal to the City Attorney John Burcham might have more accurate in when that exactly happened. But to my knowledge, it did happen, and it was in 2022, if I recall correctly.
City Attorney, do you have some more on that?
Mr. Chair, through you, the answer to your question is in the affirmative, yes. I believe there was an adjustment, time is fuzzy, but it was within the last couple of years, I believe, that an adjustment was made for the police chief position. So there is a history of this board taking up in between, before, not just after a contract to resolve, to address market deficiencies, if you will. To your question in terms of the retroactive component, the ordinance as drafted indicates 10/7/25, but again, that's to this board's discretion. If it wanted to be retroactive to the chief's highlighted the point in terms of when the salary survey, but that's within this board's purview. It was drafted prospectively, and if this board should pass it, but again, to your retroactive question, it's not in there, but the board could do
it. And what was the reason for the police chief, deputy police chief's adjustment that you just talked about, the one back in 22?
Mr. Chair, through you to Alderman Smith, my recollection at the time, again, is to address the same issue that the fire chief is, that in terms of market competitive, the position was not paid commensurate with its market comparables.
And one more, Mr. Chairman, and why was the fire department left out of the adjustment that went through last year?
My recollection, and I know that Ms. Barnes is here, is that the adjustment that the survey resulted in was for non-rep department heads that followed the supervisors union, which was ratified and passed, and then those adjustments were made similar to the police and deputy chief. Tonight, they follow the union contract, whereas the fire chief and assistant chief positions follow the union contract. So the MSA contract had adjustments. Those adjustments were made for the non-reps that follow the supervisors union. To the chief's point, the salary survey done by the consultant hired by Human Resources included positions beyond just the non-rep department heads that follow the supervisors union. They included fire chief, assistant chiefs, and the like.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, could I ask for a recess? Could I ask for one now? 5 minutes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We are out of recess. Alderman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On this ordinance, I would like to propose an amendment. And the amendment would be, on the face of it, you can see there are dates of 10/7/25 and 10/7/25, both for the Assistant Fire Chief and for the Fire Chief. And I would like to make an amendment that we change that to 10/7/24, 10/7/24 for each of them. In that, I am told from some discussions here, would then put the fire chief and assistant fire chief's positions in the same place that they would have been had they been included in the ordinance last year, like the other positions. And then that's my amendment.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. I'm sorry, the amendment has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Alderman Healy.
Can we ask the finance director the impact of that financially and where the funds would come from?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Alderman Healy, I don't have the impact of that on the top of my head, but the funds would have to come out of the general fund budget.
Okay, I'm not thinking that it's a considerable sum based on the time frame, so you're saying there is available funding for this?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, Alderman Healy, it is my hope that there would be funding, but if not, I would have to come back to the board for a budget transfer, or worst case, an allocation transfer.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Mr. Alderman Smith.
Yes, I know the hour's getting late, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, but could I ask Director Barnes to come down here and just have a little discussion about something that was just asked here about the cost of this?
Good evening.
Good evening, Director. I'm sorry to drag you out and
No
on the
worries.
fly ask you a couple of questions here, but on my amendment here, both for the chief and then for the assistant that would be impacted, I mean, you heard the amendment here to change it by a year. Could you tell us how much would that increase, if it goes back retroactive, how much would that cost in addition to what's already in front of us? I understand in front of us is already, say, for the chief 15, and with this increase it would be 20?
So the increase is 15,000 for the chief and 10 for each assistant chief. So since it would be retro for a year, so it would be at 15,000 for the chief for the 1-year salary and 10 for each assistant chief. So it would be round about $35,000 for the three positions.
The amendment, the cost of the amendment, so to speak,
Correct.
would be $35,000.
Yes, for the retro piece, and then obviously the new salary would go into place.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Director Barnes. Can you repeat those figures again? I thought you said 10 for the assistant and 15 for the chief, correct?
And there are 2 positions of assistant chiefs?
2 assistants, okay. So 2 times 10, so 20 plus 15, 35. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Alderman Pacelli.
Thank you. Through you. Can we just go back in time just a bit, just so I understand? There's a lot being thrown at us today, and certainly, I know from my standpoint, I want to do everything I can to support the department and make sure that we are on parity with appropriate departments and give the support that we've always given. and want to continue to give to the department. But there's a few issues here that come up that have confused me a little bit. I understand the number, I understand going forward, I understand the amendment. And the genesis of this, I think, is that you were involved in a presentation a year ago related to this salary study, which seems to haunt us at times. So this was something that would have been included, but for what? This is the part I'm missing. Was it just a different way now of calculating the number, or was it an inadvertent drop-off, or was it because this department being treated differently by virtue of how increases are given wouldn't have been in that study? I just want to hear that one more time.
So, in terms of the study that was brought before the board in '24, that was specific to non-represented positions that follow the MSA group. So we were not looking specifically, it was not comprehensive for police and fire. The consultant at the time did include them just as general, but it was not a comprehensive study on those types of classifications. Also, the fire contract had been resolved. And normally, when a contract is resolved, whether just as we did this evening, police contract was settled last month, we brought forward the chief's ordinance for a compensation. The fire contract had been settled in '23. So this body had approved an ordinance that was in effect at the time. So we didn't bring forward the chiefs because there was already a ordinance in place. But then as we continued through and brought forward, the chiefs brought it to our attention, we've been having conversations back and forth and gathering more data. But that initial survey in '24 was specific to positions that followed MSA.
And thank you. And as a follow-up, in addition to, I guess, police and fire that are not following the MSA, how many other departments or department heads were left off that list for similar reasons, roughly?
So police as well, the deputy police position, the fire. We also looked at the registrars, which then a few months back, that was adjusted through you all, through this body. And then we also looked at the mayor, chief elected positions, and the city clerk position as well.
Okay.
That were not part of what was presented to the board.
So at this point, if we were to address this at this level with fire, we will have worked our way through the list to have hit all of the departments that could have been in the study, regardless of whether it was MSA or non-MSA.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to the director. So as Alderman Pacelli just stated, there were a list of directors. Directors are the top level of departments across the city. And so there are no others that would be impacted by this decision. That equity has been settled with anyone else that is a department head.
Yes, as of the data that took place back in '23, '24, and now we're in '25. But obviously, moving forward, things can change. As contracts get settled, we then go back and look at that data again. But based on the information that we compiled in '23, '24, yes, all the respective positions have been addressed.
Thank you.
Alderman Beatty.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairperson, too. I'm struggling with this. I have a lot of questions. I may have misunderstood you. Was it because the fire contract was delayed? And there are many people who think it was delayed too long, so it was late to be settled, which was too near when we then could have included in this move to give them parity and put them under the study. Is that correct?
No, the fire contract was actually in 2020 was a 6-year contract.
Right.
And so there was, wages settled back in 2020, then there was a small reopener just for general wage increases, and that happened in '23. In '23, we then brought to this body the ordinance for the chiefs that followed the same salary increases that the fire union got. The study that was brought before you all was in '24, so it was
April
after
of
the fact.
'24.
Correct.
And then another question, because I want to remind us and everybody on the board that we historically have supported public safety, including law enforcement and fire department. And in '24, when we had a short-term mayor, we added $250,000 to the budget of the fire department and $90,000 to the police department. That wasn't asked for in recognition of our support for that. So this we've studied, excuse me, I've been recognized, thank you. So now we studied this, that's why I wanted to make sure that I had all the information that was given to us beforehand. We have a very thorough, marvelous rep to the Fire Commission, we're on board. And I feel as if, in light of some of what was said tonight in the spirit of bipartisanship, that this is a little bit of a manipulation to see who can support the fire department in the small amount of money that they weren't asked for. I'm entitled to my opinion, excuse me, Mr. Alderman Vitale, thank you. So I think I differ from my party a little bit. I do not want to hold up support for any of our public safety officials for a small amount of money if we can have some sense of where that money is coming forward. But this seemed to be a settled, steady issue that we were really trying to support, which is why it came out of the ordinance committee, for a discussion. So I'm just a little bit troubled by this, and I think maybe it doesn't have the best of this board's sentiment in play. So the question is, it would be 10,000 and 15 and 15? Are those the figures, or it would be 10 times 2 plus 15 would be the increase that we didn't know about? Then lastly, there was a lot of consternation in '24 from department heads about parity. And I remember when the registrar of voters stood before us, and there was so much discussion, including with the minority party. Oh, this is an extra raise or an extra amount of money. And we lived through accusations of gender issues, that it was most of the women department heads who didn't get the parity that the other. So this was settled with great finesse and with great saying, let's do this and do a budget well. So now for a small amount of money that looks like we're parsimonious if we don't do it, I think it's a mistake. It's going to open up the parity issue. And the department heads from that settled, the MSA, are going to be looking at this again. We've kind of just opened up something unnecessarily at the last minute under the altar of, do you support the fire department? Of course we do. So that's my spiel. You can bring it to a vote.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Director Barnes, if I may, I just want to make sure I heard you clearly. Out of all the department heads and all of those top positions, you're saying the fire chief and assistant fire chief are essentially the last to be looked at are their salaries in line with the market?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the last one, so that's the reasoning for a retro, because they didn't get it at the time that most other departments did.
It was brought before this body because it was raised at the Fire Commission level.
Okay.
And the Fire Commission passed a resolution to increase those salaries. And we had discussions with the chair of the Fire Commission to explain that this body has that authority. The Fire Commission could not pass a resolution to increase salaries for the chiefs.
Okay. And did any of those conversations talk about doing anything retroactive, or was it always forward-looking in those conversations? that you're aware of?
Yes, the chief and the fire commission chair had brought that as part of the discussion.
Brought up retroactive?
Yes.
And so any reason why that's not in our ordinance?
Because it was not up to us to make that decision, it's up to this body. So the date was put as the day after this meeting, and so the body could make that decision.
Okay, so retroactive was also, can we, tell me if I'm saying this wrong, but it sounds like retroactive was also asked for, but doesn't get put into the ordinance because that's how it works.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry, I didn't I'm sorry.
Alderman Morenin.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman, to Director Barnes, sorry, moment here.
It's
Yeah.
late.
So I'm trying to remember the 2024, and for some reason in my memory, I remember some directors not being included, and some being disappointed that they weren't included. So I'm not sure I'm remembering correctly or not. So I'm not confident that everyone has been addressed. And then also, if my memory's correct, that there are some directors that were not included in that adjustment. And there were some rumblings of disappointment among other directors that when we go retroactive with one department, and then those individuals come forward and want a market adjustment for them as well, and then also requests a retroactive, what precedent are we setting? Are we creating something that maybe we may not want to be doing?
The MSA ordinance that was passed before this body was retroactive, and every member of non-rep that followed MSA was included in that ordinance. There were a couple of positions that were well below market, below 5–10%, and there were adjustments to the salary structure, but everyone on that list received a base adjustment and then GWIs.
So you don't have any recall of any directors being disappointed that they didn't get included? Because I do remember thinking a few different directors, but so there's no recollection on your part that.
I can't recall specifically, no. But I know that the ordinance is every classification that was added to it was there for the MSA that followed MSA.
Mm-hmm. Again, I'm going back on memory. I do just remember there were some rumblings of some dissatisfaction, so it gives me a little pause. You know, fairness is important, right? Like that's part of what we're doing here with this adjustment, and we knew that that was a big thing that we were going to have to do, and it comes down to budget, and comes down to dollars and cents, and comes upon our residents. So, you know, to be mindful of that spending is important. So anyways, I don't have any concrete thing to say that I recall, so, but I just know that I have a memory of something there.
Alderman Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Director Barnes. I just want to make sure that I heard correctly or understood correctly with Alderman Pacelli's question. Did you mention that there were 6 total positions that were not included in that increase, the fire chief and deputy fire chiefs being included, but did you mention a deputy chief of police as well as the city clerk and the mayor?
Yes.
So 6 positions total.
That were part of the study,
Yep.
but because it wasn't the time for us to put forward those ordinances, they were not expired, those ordinances, they would not be brought before this body.
So if we were to go retroactive with these, would we be looking at potentially going retroactive with those 3 other positions as well?
What 3 other positions?
With the deputy chief police position as well as we're talking about the city clerk and mayor tonight. is there any reason that this sets a precedent is kind of my
For the
thinking with that.
police chief, for the deputy and police chief, no, because that was specific in the collective bargaining agreement that the wages became effective 9/9.
Okay.
That's why the ordinance is 9/9/25 for the police department. And then the ordinance after this one, that is for the mayor and the city clerk, is after the election, and that's always been the case, that the wages by state statute, they are after the election, so they're not retroactive.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Alderman Beatty.
Yes, and I just want to say one thing, and not to doubt you and your recollection, and not to belabor the point, but I was majority leader in that spring of '24, and I think that's why I have such an intense memory of department heads, specifically finance, the health department, and the registrar, feeling that they didn't get parity with other departments, and it was a big deal, and we vouched and we did our homework to correct that. So that was my reluctance about this, that how would that affect that? And I still don't understand. You're putting, so the fire department will be back to where those other departments had gotten ahead, but now doesn't this put them a little bit ahead of that last settlement?
No, because the data that we are looking at right now actually is still from '23 and '24. The wages that we looked at to compare to bring them up to market
Yes.
were data based on '23 and '24. We don't have numbers for '25, '26 yet.
Okay.
So,
That's
no.
my mistake. Thank you for clearing it up.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Healy.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the director, I'm looking at information that was provided to us, a salary survey that the chief had put out, and probably you're aware of this and have seen this, and in particular on the chief's position, there's 7 municipalities. This is dated salary survey June 30th, 2025. And we approved the salary in the ordinance. It'll raise the chief from where he is currently 141 and change to 156,339 effective tomorrow. And that still is below the median of 158,606 that is represented in the 7 municipalities for comparison, which is Wallingford, Fairfield, Southington, Stratford, Brantford, Guilford, and then of course Milford. So in terms of this, it's the request that's being made in terms of the amendment is, and the adjustment, I think is fair and equitable. Thank you. Do you have any comments on that? Is this correct?
Yes, but, so I would just clarify that because it says as of end of June of '25, that
Yep.
really is looking at 7/1/24 salaries, because that's when they would start.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more discussion on the amendment? Alderman Healy, you have your light on. No more discussion on the amendment. We'll take it to a vote. All in favor?
Good evening.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now we got to vote on the amendment, on the motion, the original motion. Any more discussion on the original motion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Alderman Pacelli.
Agenda item 12A4, an ordinance adopting chapter 20.5. Did I miss one? I missed one, I'm sorry. Redo that. Agenda item 12A3, an ordinance amending an ordinance establishing compensation of city officials and employees in the service of the city of Milford mayor and city clerk.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Mulrennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you to the board. I believe that it's really not in the best interest of the residents of Milford to go forward with this recommendation, given the increase of costs that we've just gone through for police and fire, which of course we support public safety, but those were, particularly with the fire, came forward with the requests for inequities. The city clerk is not asking for an increase. The current mayoral candidate's not asking for an increase. We do not have a recruitment issue like we did with fire and police. We are looking for funds to fund what we just passed now for being retroactive. So I think it would be prudent that we not move this forward and be mindful of our citizens in terms of what we're putting on their backs.
Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Smith. Recess, 5 minutes, please. We are out of recess. Alderman Smith. You called a recess.
Yes, I would yield to Alderman Jenkins.
Alderman Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the city attorney. Attorney Bertram, just a couple of questions with regard to this. So this comes before us in October before the next term, correct? Each year?
Every other year.
Right, so before the term, gotcha, every other year. So has there ever been an instance where this pay raise was not increased that you can recall?
Mr. Chair, through you to Alderman Jenkins, I don't have a recollection. I believe there was one time in the 14 years I've been here where there was not an increase to the mayor's position. I just know that the state constitution by an amendment in 1978 prohibits change in compensation for a elected official, a mayor in the city clerk position in Milford. And our ordinance also, Article 3, Section 6, provides that no person elected to the city office shall receive an increase in compensation nor a decrease for that office during the term for which he or she is elected. So traditionally, if there is a proposed increase, it happens in October of an election year, as opposed to this board's last meeting, which takes place after the election, but before the mayor, city clerk, and this board is seated for the subsequent term. So I know that my office is cognizant of the timing and the limitations for when we could bring this forward, and that's why it's before you tonight.
And so the next time that this would come to this board's plate would be 2027.
October 2027.
Thank you.
Thank you, through you, Chair, to Alderman Jenkins. There has been times that it has been voted down.
Can I just respond to Alderman Muller? Do we have a record of that? Can we just, I'm unaware, that's why I'm asking.
I don't have a record in front of me for it, but I know historically there have been times that it has not been passed.
Thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? All opposed? Roll call vote. Madam Secretary, please.
Alderman Beatty?
Only has to be one no.
No, nay.
Alderman Bevan?
Yes?
Alderman Casey?
Yes.
Alderman Federico?
No.
Alderman Fowler?
Yes.
Alderman Healy? Alderman Height?
No.
Alderman Jenkins? Alderman Marlowe?
Yes.
Alderman Mulrennan?
No.
Alderman Pacelli?
No.
Alderman Smith? Alderman Vitro?
No.
Alderman Vitale? 7 no, 7 yes.
7 yes, 7 no, motion fails. Alderman Pacelli.
Agenda item 12A4, an ordinance adopting Chapter 20.5 Taxation, Section 20.5-7.2, exemption for 100% disabled veterans or veterans with total disability based on individual unemployability, and Section 20.5-14.2, alternative exemption for Gold Star spouses of the City of Milford Code of Ordinances.
Second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to administration, I think there's going to be a lot of questions on this motion, and I understand there's various pieces to it. Could we have either the city attorney or perhaps the tax assessor kind of talk about the impact of this? And I have one question at the beginning of that. I would like to know exactly what exemptions we have on the books for veterans today versus this one, like what changes with this one versus what we have today.
Mr. Chair, through you to Alder Federico, I think I'll take the first stab at trying to give you an overview of what's before you tonight.
Thank you.
So, in terms of exemptions that I'm aware of, and maybe Marcus Eric, our assessor, who is with us, can help fill me in if I miss anything, but currently we have, following the passage of Public Act in 2024, an exemption for those veterans who are 100% permanently and totally disabled at 100% level for a service-connected disability for their dwelling. We also have a Gold Star parent and spouse exemption in the amount of $10,000. What's before you tonight is a result of legislation that was passed this past summer, effective October 1st, 2025. And what that legislation did was expound upon the exemption for permanently and total disabled veterans at 100% level for their dwelling. It expounds upon it by providing several municipal options. So the 2024 exemption is state law. We have to follow that law. It's not by ordinance. What is before you tonight is local option to expand upon those exemptions in no particular order. Yep.
So I may just ask one question there. The 2024 exemption, is that $20,000 is exempt, or is that the full dwelling?
The full dwelling.
The full
they
dwelling.
meet the standard. The full dwelling, exclusive of the property.
Exclusive of the land, right?
The land, correct.
Okay, so the full dwelling. So there's a piece in here that's a potential cap,
Correct.
right? So this cap,
Is the median assessed value.
and this cap could affect people who are getting the exemption today. It would increase their taxes, as one of the speakers said earlier this evening.
Correct, and Marcus can fill you in if.
Okay.
I believe, and don't quote me on the numbers because Marcus will state them accurately. I believe the median assessed value in Milford is currently close to $386,000. What's proposed before you tonight is that cap. So if a veteran owns a home with assessed value of $500,000, they would have an exemption up to $386,000,
Okay.
with the balance to be taxable, correct?
Okay. But today, they have 500,000 exemption. This is going to reduce their exemption. If
Again,
passed as is.
there's also some that will benefit because, if you recall from public comment, the current exemption is just for the dwelling, not for
Okay,
the
so we'll
dwelling
get-
and the land. What's
Okay.
before you tonight is dwelling and land. There's a cap on that as well, up to 2 acres.
Okay, thank you.
So in terms of the menu, if you will, for local municipal legislative bodies option, the first is unemployability. So it expands upon the exemption to include veterans that have been determined by the United States Department of Veteran Affairs to have a service-connected total disability based upon their unemployability, their individual unemployability. So you could have a disability less than 100%, but still qualify for the exemption if you're unemployable. That's within the proposed ordinance. Again, to include land to exempt from taxation not more than 2 acres of the lot upon which the dwelling sits is included. Like we talked about, it's a municipal option to include the median assessed valuation, and that's to limit the exemption to the amount to the median assessed valuation of residential real properties located within the city, as determined every reval cycle by the assessor when completing the current grand list. There's the expansion of the Gold Star spouse. Currently, a Gold Star spouse is eligible for a $10,000 exemption. This expands upon that to include surviving spouse while such person remains a widow or widower of a person who was killed in action while performing active military duty within the armed forces, as defined by statute. There's also a provision to include for assessment years the surviving spouse of a veteran who's been determined to be either 100% disabled or less than that, but totally unemployable. And that's to include for assessment years commencing on or after October 1st, 2025, the surviving spouse of any veteran that had been determined to be permanently and totally disabled based upon a service-connected disability rating of 100% and died prior to October 1st, 2024, but after, and is a date to be determined by you, while such spouse remains a widow. So currently, the law allows a surviving spouse to be eligible for the exemption that I referred to that passed in 2024, but only after, if the spouse dies after 10/1/24. This expands upon it to prior to 10/1/24. Those are the menu, if you will, in terms of impact. I'm going to defer to Marcus to talk about impact because he has the numbers. I just wanted to explain to you all these different municipal options that we have. What's before you this evening is a proposed ordinance that includes each of the options. So if this board chooses to pick or take one of those options out of the ordinance, it would have to be by way of amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion?
I think the assessors, can I give us a little overview? Can I ask one question
Sure,
before
go
you
ahead.
get started? Is there any way you could estimate the median value of land?
There is.
Okay, great.
We are in a revaluation. So the numbers that I'm going to provide to you are rough estimates because we're still finalizing our land values, our building values. We're still performing inspections due to permit work, so there's still a lot of moving parts to these numbers. But the figures I can provide you are as of about 2 weeks ago when I ran reports through my appraisal system to determine the medians, the possible impact on the grand list. So I have a bunch of scenarios that I can run over with you. You're welcome. So the way the ordinance is written, like John said, incorporates all of the municipal options. That's doing the 100% totally disabled, the less than 100% but considered to be unemployable, the spouses of the veterans to a date to be determined. I know of 2. I know one was here during public comment. I've had discussions with her, and one other. There may be more. I don't know. Gold Star families, I've been in touch with the VA trying to get an idea of how many, if any, we have in the city of Milford. I have yet to hear back from them. So I'm still waiting on that as well. And median assessed valuation, yes, I did make some estimates on that, which I will go over with you all now. If this ordinance is adopted as written, my estimation of impact to the grand list will be approximately $32 million in assessed value. with the current grand list, that equates to about 0.4% using the 2024 grand list, not the grand list that I'm currently working on with the revaluation. The median assessed values, and that includes all real estate of residential nature, including vacant land up to any waterfront property, condominiums, mobile homes, and everything in between, all inclusive. The median assessed value as of, once again, about 2 weeks ago, and this number will change. Don't know if it's gonna go up, don't know if it's gonna get down, but it won't be the number I'm telling you today, is $338,240 as inclusive of land and dwelling. One thing that this new public act and the public options did not include are the outbuildings. So as an example, you have a pool and you have a detached garage. You will get the full assessment minus the median plus your outbuildings, that pool and that attached garage. I expect that to change again next year. We've already been told there may be more amendments coming once the legislation gets this the way they want it to be. So once again, the highest impact that I'm foreseeing at this point would be about a $32 million impact to the grand list. Currently, we use just the building for 2024, as John mentioned. The impact for last year's grand list was $8,760,000, which equated to about $258,000 in tax revenue lost to the city that other taxpayers had to make up for. Not knowing what the grand list is going to be this year or what the mill rate is going to be set at in June, there's just no way to give any type of realistic estimate as to the tax loss, if implemented, will be come July 1st of next year. If the median is used, and the median, once again, is the 328,360, the impact to the grand list would be about 25 million. The 32 million was not using the median. I don't think I made that clear. The 32 million is using the full assessment of the land, the full assessment of the building. The number 25 million is using the median minus the total assessment. Did I make that myself clear on that one? And I'm sorry I misspoke before, but the 32 is with the total assessment of the land, the total assessment of the building.
May I ask one question?
Sure.
When you say the land, it's the land up to the 2 acres as proposed?
We don't have any that's
Nobody's over? Okay.
That's irrelevant at this point. We don't
Thank
have,
you.
in my spreadsheet, there's no one over 2 acres.
Thank you.
Sure.
Is any questions for the assessor? Any more questions on the motion? Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Pacelli.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here today to go through this. I know it's a late hour and everyone probably wants to wrap this up. I have 2 questions. The median assessed valuation is currently in the document, and so we're talking about approximately a $25 million number. If we remove it, then it becomes a $32 million number. If that's removed, my understanding is that it becomes a little bit of a disparate treatment, because some people may have higher value and get a larger reduction versus everyone getting something similar based on a median home, which is perhaps what this was intended to do, perhaps not. I'm not sure. On that note, I do like to ask, I mean, you're here telling us what this means and how this should work. the way it was proposed, it's included. I'm presuming because of that, there's a belief that it should be included here as part of this process?
Talk on the street in the assessor community was that the legislation, the intent of last year's bill was meant to include the land.
Understood.
And then they did clarify late November last year and send out an email blast to all of the assessors through OPM saying, no, it's just a dwelling for clarification. So the intent of the original law was, yes, to include the land. The inclusion of the median, and this is my opinion, is to treat everyone the same. If you're 100% disabled and you're 100% unemployable, you're all in the same category. And as an assessor, fair and equality is my job. And I think that seems to be the rumor on the street, is that's why they put it in there. So we have homes from anywhere from 200,000 to close to 2 million on this list. So, and everywhere in between, from a mobile home to waterfront property. So, am I answering your question?
It does, and then based on the current existing law, before we make this change, someone who is currently covered under total disability is getting, on the larger property,
just the dwelling.
Just the dwelling.
Just the assessment of the dwelling.
Okay, so the land, on some of these higher value properties, the land is very valuable, they're not getting anything on that. Now, you may get limited, but it's the land and the home, so you may be in a similar spot. It's unlikely that we're increasing tax by doing that?
There might be a few that fall into that category. What we do in our office, because there are so many veterans benefits through the state of Connecticut and the city of Milford, as an example, we have quite a few low-income veterans in the city. When they come in and talk to us, we will look at their income and we will make a decision how they're going to receive the most benefits. There are mobile homes, when there's I want to say 4 last year, that had more benefits as a disabled, not 100%. So we didn't apply the new code from the Public Act 2446 because they were getting more benefits through the other programs. Being a revaluation year, everyone knows what the market is doing, things are going to increase. So that scenario may still exist, but we'll just apply the code to whatever is going to be best for the resident.
Understood. So there may be some ways of limiting that if that was to be what would happen based on this. Last question, our favorite word of the day, retroactive. Can you just explain that retroactive refund again?
Yeah, well, that would go back only to October 1st of 2024, because that's when the Public Act was first enacted. So say a veteran did not apply, and he's applying late, we can go retroactive only back to the 2024 grant list, not before, because the law did not exist.
And really last question, and when you gave us the numbers, did you include, no, I guess you wouldn't know who hasn't done this because it's retroactive, right? So you have no way of including someone who may come in under that.
Exactly. No idea.
Okay.
I will tell you, so last year we had 59, okay? For this year, and these are 100%, okay? Not the unemployable, but the 100%. We have an additional 14 that have already applied. I've reviewed their paperwork. I expect more. Part of this bill also requires the veterans to file every year. So they have, OPM supplied me with a form that I'm have to send out every year to them. They have to send me back their paperwork because disability ratings can change. Usually they go up, seldom do they go down. But part of this law is now they're gonna have to do a little bit of work and apply every year to the assessor's office. So we have an additional 14 for the unemployable thus far, we have an additional 12. And once again, I expect that number to increase because the application period ends on January 1st annually. So as we speak, they still have nearly 2 months to come in, 3 months, 2 months to come and apply.
Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Federico.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the assessor. The amount that you mentioned before, the 338,000, you said that was inclusive of land and dwelling, right? Can you tell me how much of that is land?
I can.
Great.
So the land total, and this includes the new applicants for 2025, as well as the unemployable. 12,490,000.
Okay.
And the building is about 18.7, which brings us right to, and I'm rounding because it's going to change.
Brings us to the 25.
Okay, so it brings us closer
Okay.
to the 32 million.
And how about on the, oh, right, the 32, sorry.
Right,
Sorry.
exactly.
And the median assessed value of 338,000, that's based on all of Milford, not just these
That's
folks?
based on every single residential property
Okay.
in the city.
Okay, and can we tell how much of that is land? Just trying to get an idea of the ratio between the land and the dwelling, typically.
I don't think that's possible.
Okay,
I don't think
that's
that's
fine.
mathematically possible, no.
Okay. Okay, and you said the 25 million would be an increase, putting in the, let's call it a cap at the median.
Correct.
But the current 80 million for the people who are on this program now would also go down if the median.
Correction, it was 8,760,000 that was on for the 2024 grand list.
Okay, that makes more sense. I'm sorry, I thought you
It's
said
okay.
80.
Yeah.
Okay, so that 8 million may go down a little, but not.
Yeah, so it's basically 4 times almost, if you want to look at it, simple math.
It's a lot more,
It'd be
okay.
about 4 times what it was last year.
Okay, and you think it's just a few people that are currently getting the full benefit that would then be affected by the cap?
I can't tell just by looking at my spreadsheet. I'd have to
Okay.
delve into that further.
Okay,
But I think there would be a handful that, yes, that might have a larger assessment. I don't want to use the word taxes because we don't know what the mill rate's going to be.
right.
But is it possible they might have a larger assessment than last year? For 2 reasons, yes. Because of your point and because of the revaluation, because things are increasing.
The median's going to likely go up.
Right.
Okay. Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, you're
I
welcome.
appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any more discussion on the motion? Alderman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And it's late, so but maybe this has already been answered. If there were a sudden reduction of $32 million in our grand list, what does that equate to in tax revenue at the present mill rate?
At the present mill rate? Got my trusty calculator, good thing I brought that. Present mill rate would be 945,600.
All right, so if we implement this package of exemptions here, and the mill, and the assessed value of property does go down by 32 million, if we have something like the same mill rate, it's going to cost the city 900,000 and change, whatever you just said.
Using the 2024 mill rate.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any more discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the reports of standing committees. Any reports of standing committees? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 13, reports of special committees. Any special committee reports? I don't see any of those. Is there a motion to adjourn? We have a motion to, we have a second? All in favor? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.